After a decade and a half of being in solar, I finally decided that it's time to take some time away from solar, take a step back. This hasn't been an easy decision for me, and it's actually been probably a long time coming. It probably started a few years back. But first, before I get into why I made this decision, I do want to say that solar has been wonderful to me in my life over the past 15 plus years. It's provided me a great life. I have loved the industry, being a part of it. I've learned so much. I've met so many wonderful people, and I've got to do just amazing work and, doing thousands of residential solar installations, not just across America, but all over the world, commercially, doing utility scale projects, going to Africa on multiple occasions, doing really cool work over there. What I've come to realize is I see three big things that have led me to this decision. The first being that I just don't have the passion that I did. When I first got into the industry, I would travel to Washington State to do a training with Outback. And then, when SunPower came to town, I would do all their trainings and Solar Edge and Enphase, and it was code trainings. I would go to those, and I loved it. Like, as crazy as it sounds, I loved every second of it. I loved meeting with homeowners and business owners and working with municipalities and serving with CBANE, which is our solar association, and, doing my minimal help there, and even teaching classes on solar. Like, I loved all of it. But after year after year, again, over a decade and a half, I think that passion is just it's just not there anymore. Like, I was going to say it eroded, but I don't think that's even the right term. One of the things I like to talk about at the end is, I think it's okay that your passion doesn't stay exactly the same. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But I had to be honest with myself. It's like I found that the truth was I was really doing solar because it had become routine, it had become rote, and it became something I could make money with. And at the end of the day, really the reason I was doing it was just to make money. And at this stage in my life, I had to be very honest with myself. Is like, do I want to get up out of bed every day and just go to work and, grind it out every day just to make $1? And the answer was no. Like, it wasn't fulfilling. It didn't give meaning to me in my life. The second reason was my wife started to say to me, she's like, oh, you're not looking good. You're looking stressed. You got bags under your eyes. I mean, maybe you're a little older, have those anyways now. But like, when she started to notice that it was affecting me, and there was perhaps maybe a heaviness on me that, again, when I first got into solar, I loved it. Like, maybe in another time I'll tell you guys some stories on like how I got into solar, and it was just wonderful. And like the types of people and the type of impact I felt like I was having at that time. But her pointing that out to me, that meant a lot to me. It meant I couldn't be the husband that I really wanted to be if I was tired and stressed and perhaps doing something I didn't like every day. I would say my big epiphany, the third reason, was I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts called Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson. And he did this episode. If you haven't watched it, I highly suggest you watch it. It was literally one of those life-changing moments for me. It was his 900th podcast episode. He talked about the 11 lessons he learned over 900 episodes. Many of the things he said, I felt like he was just speaking directly to me. But the one that really jumped off the page to me was, he goes, your whole life, one of his lessons was, your whole life, you've been a doer. But he said, at some point in your life, you have to transition from being the doer who's going, to being the actual idea person, to taking yourself out of, let's say, like from a business point of view, we would say from the operations, the daily operations, or we used to say in solar, like get yourself out of the field and get yourself into the office. But even that, what I found for me was what Chris talks about in that video. When you're a doer, he said you spend all day long. You wake up and it's like you're doing emails. And when you're younger in life, it's like that's how you prove it to your others and to yourself. It's just like, there's no task too big. There's no work too tedious. There's no timeline too tight. It's like you're going to get it done. You're going to prove it to everyone else and yourself that you can do it. And I've always been that way. And I kind of found myself over and over again repeating this pattern, especially with solar, where I would say, this time I'm not going to overdo it. And after running my own company, my wife and I, for over a dozen years, it was like nonstop 24/7. The buck stopped with me. And even opportunities and things I did after that, I always would tell myself, I am not going to just be getting myself into a situation where I'm working 10, 12 hours every single day. But that's exactly what I did. And one of the things Chris said in the video, and again, I felt like he was talking directly to me, he's like, if you're sitting there all day and you're just answering emails and responding and putting out this fire and contacting this customer and solving this problem, you never actually get to stop and pause, and you don't take the time, you can't take the time to focus on and maybe even think, are these the tasks I want to be doing right now in my life? Are these things important? Do I care about answering 100 or 200 emails in a day? Do I really care about that system or CRM or protocol or standard operating procedure that much? And that's when I found my life just encompassing. Everything in my life encompassed these things. And I realized that all the reasons I got into solar, helping the people in Africa who had intermittent power issues, and coming from places like China and listening to like Lynn Jurich when she started Sunrun and her experience, and like, trying to keep the US air from being polluted like her experiences in Shanghai. It's like me coming from working and living in China for a few years, like that resonated with me. I loved that. So I loved when I got into the industry. I loved the fact that I wasn't sitting in a cubicle all day. So there's lots of things I did love about it. But fast forward 15, 16 years. To 2025, and I had to realize, like, I was just, again, being a doer. I was keeping myself busy. That goes along to like sort of that epiphany. It's like, well, what do I really want to be doing with my life right now? And I think even thoughts like that can be terrifying. I know it was a little scary for me because I'm getting emotional because like I honestly like identified myself all these years for like 15 years, 16 years as the solar guy. It's like you go to someone's house and you meet somebody. It's like, who you are? Like, hey, I'm Brad. I'm the solar guy. And you talk about that. So it's your identity. It's how you think of yourself. Even that, it's like, it's what I know. It's like, there's so much like fear. It's like, well, what am I gonna do? Like even if I was to even think of like what other industry or what would I get into? Like it's so intimidating to make a change like that, particularly when you're in your mid-40s and you're trying to say, hey man, what do I want with this life? What do I want to get out of it? What's important to me? But I think, for me, I've had to overcome those emotions, those fears, even the feeling of like disappointing people. It's like, man, it's like all these people, because I did coaching, I've done consulting, I've ran companies in solar. It's like part of me is like, oh, am I letting these people down? They're like, oh, look at even Brad's leading the industry. It's not that like there's anything wrong with the solar industry. In fact, like I still have a deep passion for like energy and clean energy and those sort of things. But I had to sort of take that leap of faith. That's how I feel right now. As my uncle would say, you have to take a leap of faith. And that's how I feel right now. So it's been a major decision for me. And yeah, and I don't want to let anyone down. I know there are some definite people that feel that way right now, but I also have to be true to myself. I've tried to be as open and honest with those people as I can. Some taken it well, some haven't taken it well. And that's hard too, right? That's like, I never want anyone to like be upset with me, and that's something else, maybe I'll share another time. But that part of me that just like, maybe that perpetual people pleaser part of me that I've worked very hard to overcome, but I also don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to want to love and respect those people in your life and honor them. And the last thing I just want to say is that, I also think that we're in a very unique point in human history. Like I look at just a couple generations or one generation before me where like my father would get a job and he was in that job his entire life, and people would get a job and then like expect to retire there and get a pension there, or be in a trade and be in that trade forever. And the truth is I hardly know anybody who does that. And I think that's even more so. It's even more true for the younger generations. And they think, oh, what am I going to be doing? And I think that's actually the incorrect question. I think like even asking a child, what do you want to do when you grow up? I actually don't think that's the right question anymore. I think rather we have to learn to go with the flows of life and like realize maybe at this point in my life I'll be into this thing, and at this another point in my life I'll be into another thing, and be willing to shift, be willing to change. For me, for my next steps, one of the things, going back to my point about not being just a doer all the time right now, is I am taking time to sort of reflect, figure out what's important to me. One of them is like, I've always loved talking to people. I love engaging with people. I love sharing. So maybe this isn't anything special. I bought a mic stand, so I already had a microphone, but this is a big leap, a big change for me. I also think, I'm very thankful that I'm involved with another company, Social Goats, which sort of gives me some of the space to be able to pursue other things right now. And I'll probably be talking more about that because I am excited about that. But the truth is, I needed to make a change. I didn't want to wake up every day dreading what I was doing that day, not proud of myself, not feeling like I was, living the life that like I wanted to live. So yeah, so this video is more just to talk about that. And again, I am eternally grateful to Solar, to everybody I've worked with and met with and been involved with, everyone from the customers to installers to manufacturers to business partners to friends to people who have worked for me. I value some of those relationships. Some of those people are still some of the closest people to me in my life. I do plan on making more videos like this, and I think one of the things I do want to focus on is my own personal journey, both spiritually, mentally, physically, health, all these things that, at this point in my life, I realized those are the things that really matter to me. And I think they really matter to like most people, and even to like my niece who is in her early 20s and working a good job trying to figure out what she's trying to do with her life, to my other friends who just retired and now it's like, what are they going to do with their life? I think those are the people, those are the topics, those are the things that I find I really do care about. And I look forward to doing more videos, more podcasts, and discussing those things and talking about those things. Because one of the things I realize in life is like, I love talking about that stuff. I love talking about that stuff with people who also really enjoy it. I did one of those personality tests. I found that I'm like really not a disagreeable person. I don't really like to argue. I don't like confrontation. I've had to learn a lot to overcome that, especially being in business and stuff. And some people, when I say that, are surprised. They're like, well, Brad, you're so upfront. It was like, I had to learn the hard way to be like that. But I love talking to people in, a very, maybe not a debate manner, but like trying to understand other people's perspectives, trying to see how they got there. I find many times, like I listened to something recently. I'm not going to go into the topic right now, but it was like just totally changed my opinion on that topic. It was a health related thing. I kind of loved that. I kind of loved the fact that I really thought one way about something. I listened to one sort of podcast by someone who I highly respect, and then afterwards, like, I've totally changed my mind on that thing. And I think that, like, if I was to say the one main point of all this is like change is good, I think. Like, I think it's like super healthy to keep changing. And I think this whole thing, I always imagine meeting someone, and this actually never happened, but I always imagine meeting someone who I hadn't seen in years. And they'd be like, "Whoa, Brad, you changed." And my reaction would be, thank God I've changed. That I'm not that person I was when I was 18 years old, because that guy was a mess. He had all sorts of problems. And I'm not saying it, my age now, I've got everything together, but man, I believe I've come a long way since that kid I was all those years back. So I think change is wonderful. Change is great. And I'm in a big point of change in my life. And you know what? It also is very exciting if you let it be. It could be also, again, scary. Don't get me wrong. I do wake up some days and I feel like that depression where I don't want to get off the couch. It's hard. But I wake up days like today and I'm excited. I'm energized by like what's going to happen next with life. And I think that's okay. At least for me, I think it's okay. So, all right. I look forward to doing more of these. And again, I appreciate everyone who's been there supporting me all this time. And I'll see you guys in the next video.